Hello, good evening and welcome to Spotlight. My name is Nwang Falong. It's an honor that you're tuned in to MX24 Television, your home for fun, fearless and factual content. There's a whole new entrepreneurship drive going on out there. But how easy is it for small business owners in Ghana? Especially how easy is it for them to break into markets outside of Ghana? We know that the African Continental Free Trade Area has come into effect. But are local entrepreneurs able to leverage this? Do they know the way? Tonight, we're going to be speaking about that, and we have just the right resource persons. My name is Nwang Falong. We'll be with you after this break. Stay with us.
On Opposing Views, we talk about the issues that sharply divide opinion, regardless of the discomfort.
Abortion is a no-no. As a human being, you must take responsibility for all your actions and inactions. Your misjudgment shouldn't be enough grounds to take a life.
No. I disagree with you because look, if you do not legalize it, people will go to quack doctors anyway who might end up not just kill the baby, but the mother as well.
Why should I waste my time, join a long queue under the hot sun to vote for a political party, knowing very well that nothing would be achieved at the end of the day?
Something will be achieved. It's your civic responsibility to turn out to vote.
Governments need to cater to every graduate, diversify the economy, invest in other sectors.
But the government cannot do it all. That is why we need the youth to take up the mantle and set up their own businesses. That is how we will create economic viability.
We take your views, that of the experts, and even attempts to find common ground. Join me, Marie-France Fojo, every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m.
At MX24, this was how we brought you fun in October.
Oh my God!
Kwame Eugene, you are officially a member of the
AM Club.
Oh, thank you.
Tune in for daily dose of exciting content.
I used to be the kid that sang everywhere.
Congratulations, Joseph! Joseph! Remember to scan your DVB, T2 compatible TV or multi-TV decoder to MX24 for more fun content this month of November.
Welcome back to Spotlight. Thank you for staying. I mentioned before we went on that break, we're assessing the role of the African Continental Free Trade Area in boosting Ghana's entrepreneurship drive. And we have with us, joining on Zoom, Lethabo Sitho. I hope I got that right. She's a chairperson for the AfCFTA's Youth Advisory Board. We also have Anthony Bassing. He's a young entrepreneur. He's also the CEO of Inca's Diagnostics. We're going to be speaking to him there shortly. We're also pleased to be joined by Abigail Fosu. She is the General Manager at the Business Resource Center under the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ghana Enterprise Agency, formerly NBSSI. For this conversation, she will also be joining us, but she's joining on behalf of the Ghana Enterprise Agency. And we also have Reverend Constance Bonsu, who's the CEO of Consta Naturals, and also the founder of Lady Entrepreneurs Network. She's also going to be joining on Zoom shortly. Today, I am so glad that we outnumber the men on this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Right. I'm just going to go to Lethabo, who, of course, is the chairperson for the AfCFTA Youth Advisory Board. I want her to start with us. Later on in the program, I'll be letting the entrepreneurs shoot her some questions. So, Lethabo, quick quick explanation, exactly what is the AfCFTA from an insider perspective, and how does it play a role in solving the youth problems in Africa, especially unemployment?
All right, thank you guys so much for having me. I'll start by saying the AfCFTA is a trade agreement. And what makes this agreement different and more unique is that even when it was being negotiated, even before when Agenda 2063 was implemented, the AfCFTA was seen as a vehicle for driving development on the continent. So unlike any other free trade area, this specific one is designed to be used as an instrument for achieving sustainable development. And like all the other free trade agreements in other continents and regions, this one seeks to give our people access to markets, access to capital, free movement of persons, free movement of goods, free movement of services, free movement of capital and investment. And by doing so, giving people access to a market of 1.3 billion people across the African continent. I do not want to focus this conversation on any treaty talk or bore anybody with any technical talk. So I would say in a nutshell, that is what the AfCFTA is. It is an instrument for development that gives our people access to people, markets, capital, and other resources.
But how do the youth stand to benefit from the AfCFTA? Are there specific areas that give advantage to the youth?
I think so. In a lot of the other regions, it has been argued that free trade is the biggest driver of socioeconomic development. So in Africa, it's how the youth stands to benefit. I think the first thing that we should highlight is that we are the largest and fastest growing population group across the world. And by virtue of that, we are or should be the biggest winners in this agreement. I think there's a lot that the youth can stand to benefit if we're talking young entrepreneurs from accessing other markets. If we're talking free movement of persons, being able to work in different countries, being able to travel to different countries for opportunities, for tourism, for education. So I think the opportunities are very broad, and because we are, Africa's biggest continent, demographic, we should stand to gain the most. There are a lot of opportunities that come with a free trade agreement and a free trade area. And I think what needs to happen now is we need to start having conversations about practically and in terms of implementation, how exactly are you going to benefit, instead of broadly just stating that there's these benefits and those benefits. I would say that we can learn a lot from post-COVID recovery and how young people have shown that we have driven resilience and innovation on the continent, and as such, we should be at the forefront of driving those industries, in tech, driving the creative industries. They're really people. We could speak all day about all of the opportunities that are there for young people, but I do think access is the biggest one. Access to money, access to market.
Letabo, I'm going to come back to you shortly because I look at it looks a little broad, but I want you to narrow down on if there are specific areas where there's an advantage. For example, maybe in agro-processing or in ICT. I want to understand a bit of that aspect, but let me bring in the entrepreneurs. Let me go to Anthony, who's on the line already. Anthony, you are in, I think, more of a science-based entrepreneur. How would you describe yourself?
Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity once again. I am in biotechnology because I develop and manufacture diagnostics, so it's part of the biotechnology space. Yes.
Right. In your area of business, what are the biggest challenges that you have faced so far?
Oh, okay. Well, the biggest probably has been the fact that import duties has been a very big issue for us. Import duties because with what we do, unfortunately we are one of the very, very, very few companies in the whole of Africa that actually does manufacturing of diagnostics. Everything else is imported, and so we do not have any of our raw materials in any of the African countries, and so we basically have to import all our raw materials. And sometimes you import something, you buy something worth, let's say, just $10,000, and you end up paying twice or thrice that when it comes to import duties. That has been a major challenge for us. Another one has been with some of the government agencies. Immediately they hear what you do, they assume that you have a lot of money, so they come around and you have to pay this, you have to pay that, you have to pay that. If you're not very careful, you end up with a lot of bills to pay, which is actually higher than the amount of cash you have. And so it makes having cash to run around the business very, very difficult. I think the third one, which I'm sure it's a problem for almost everybody that has to buy things from outside Ghana or even outside the continent, is exchange rate. It's difficult for planning because usually when you are forecasting, you have to forecast for the year, for the next 2 years, for the next 2 years. Because the materials take some time to come in, and then you have to manufacture to be able to give out. Currently, we have a lot of demand, even outside Africa. We have demand from Nigeria, we have demand from Kenya, and all of that. So you have to plan to be able to manufacture for all of these people. And you plan with maybe 5 cedis, 85 pesos for $1. You plan and you do all of those things. If you have to raise money, you do all of that. Within a short time, the dollar has sort of, and then at the end of the day, all your plans are not coming to realization because of the exchange rate. So these are the three major things that are against us as
they sound pretty overwhelming. So when you hear government urging the youth to venture into entrepreneurship, do you think the right systems have been put in place to support this drive?
Okay, so first of all, I agree that government cannot employ everybody, because when you look at the number of people that are coming out of the universities or even tertiary institutions, and then you compare that to the number of people that are going on retirement, it is impossible for governments to employ people. But then it is also extremely difficult for people to start businesses in Ghana. Right from the time when you want to register your company, where you have to even pay a middleman to get your company registered, okay, to even getting somebody who would audit your, you need an auditor, you need so many things. Then the district assemblies start coming in, you need permits and all of that. And you're talking about somebody who's just finished probably national service, probably has saved just a little. By the time you realize the capital that you wanted to use to start a business, you've ended up using it to pay for services. And that becomes a problem. And so it's quite difficult for people who've just finished school to start businesses. I propose that probably those companies that have already started and have that can employ as many people as possible, those people should be encouraged. There should be some incentives for them to be able to employ as many people as possible. And then those that actually want to start businesses, there should be training regimes put in place to help them, train them, and after that, probably find some funding for them to start business. The systems currently in this country, in Ghana, are not conducive for people to start businesses. You have to be resilient, you have to decide.
Don't you think funding, helping fund them is like spoon feeding them? Because if there's funding opportunities, then everybody's going to come up with a business plan. How do you sieve out the ones that are concise and viable?
Okay, so the NEIP, for instance, it's a very good platform, for instance, because you train as many people that have a business idea. So you give them a lot of opportunities to come in, learn how to put up together a business idea, learn all the things that is necessary for starting a business. So that is actually a very wonderful thing. And then after that, you have a few people, or you have all of them pitch their idea, and then you select those that are fundable. So in theory, this is a perfect way of selecting viable ideas. You also help people to form partnerships, because you have somebody who has a brilliant idea but does not have the skill to be able to move the idea forward. You have somebody who came with one idea but he has a skill that can help another person. So you can push them together. Unfortunately, theory and reality has not been the case, because people came in, they paid, they were giving monies, and that was it. I think the monetary mechanism has been a problem. But NEIP, the NEIP system has been, it's one of the ways that we'll be able to support young entrepreneurs to be able to move forward. I keep saying that those that are already in existence, like us, we have the capacity to employ as many as 100 people. Okay, if we are able to get rid of a few of the things that are currently hampering our growth. Otherwise, because if we go and we move into other countries, Nigeria, Kenya, and all the other places where we have a lot of demand, you can imagine the number of people we will be able to employ. So I think that while we are trying to get everybody to move into entrepreneurship, or getting young people to move into entrepreneurship, there should also be a mechanism to encourage existing companies to be able to employ those that are not going to move into entrepreneurship. You cannot expect everybody to be an entrepreneur. It is impossible. So there are some people that have to be employed. And so you should encourage other companies that are already in existence to be able to employ these people.
Great. Let me just go to Reverend Constance. I want to find out from her if some of these problems, what she identifies with in her line of business. But before that, we have the recording of the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, urging entrepreneurship. Let's take that and come back to the discussion.
So the future for you with regards to jobs, of course, is the most important thing at this stage. We have gone through a period where most people look for jobs of government, etc. That payroll is full. I can tell you that, because we are spending some 60% of our revenue on remunerating some 650,000 people, and that's not sustainable. The question then really is whether UPSA has trained you to be entrepreneurs. And your question will be, where will I get the financing from, etc. But you do, and you have the skill set to be able to do what you have to do. Our responsibility as government is to create an environment of macro stability, currency stability, and ensure that you have access to the relevant skills and financing. So this budget that we are going to be doing is going to really focus on the youth and budget. And tomorrow we have a program here looking at what the youth demands and how we can structure the next 2-3 years of the Ghana Obatampa program to ensure that you become your own bosses and you become entrepreneurs. So it's a new world out there where you need to, it's not a factory that is employing 10,000 people, but it's individuals like you employing 2, 3, 4, 5 people to create that energy and engine for our country to transform.
So that was the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, urging the youth to go into entrepreneurship. He also mentions that there will be some fine-tuning of the budget to ensure a bit of help comes the way of the youth who venture into entrepreneurship. I mentioned earlier that we'll be joined by Reverend Constance Bonsu, who is the CEO of Constant Naturals. She's also the founder of Lady Entrepreneurs Network. I don't know how many of you know this, but Ghana is one of the leading countries when it comes to female entrepreneurs. Ghana has, I think, top 3. Let me just pull that up quickly. I think this was the 2020 MasterCard Index of Women Entrepreneurs, and Ghana ranked top 3, along with Botswana and another country over there. So Ghana seems to be producing quite a lot of entrepreneurs, but most of them are women. Most of them are women. So it's important that we focus the discussion also on how women can be lifted out of running micro enterprises into more sustainable, bigger enterprises that employ more people. But let me speak to Reverend Constance. Madam, how long have you been in business?
Yeah, I've been in business for years. Actually, I've been a lecturer but I started entrepreneurship from my youthful days. So I've done entrepreneurship like for forever.
Okay.
For years. And I've been part of some of the initiatives of the government that have come and gone. Yeah, for instance, in 2005, I was part of the first Ashanti Fair. I have trained people for the Ministry of Foreign Administration, the Presidential Special Initiative present.
Interesting. How did you position yourself to benefit from these initiatives? Were you doing something differently from what the regular entrepreneur is doing?
Yeah, I used to train people. I had an NGO that was called the Second Chance Foundation.
Okay.
Where I trained school dropouts, both males and females, in skill training, catering, cosmetology, and garment of my house. And then one day I just thought that some V8s have come to pass. That was in 2004. And that is how come I came into this training, because I was training them for free, and they came and chanced upon them having their practicals and demonstrations, and so they picked me up.
Okay.
Actually, for that year in Kumasi, mine was the second institution that was.
Okay, we're having a few issues with Madam Constance's line there. Can you hear me? Is this clearer? Okay. Let me just bring in the GEA over there. We'll go back to Madam Constance shortly when the line is more stable. Abigail Fosu is the General Manager at the Business Resource Center under the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ghana Enterprise Agency. Hi, Abigail. Good evening. Abigail, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself because we can't hear you. I think your line is muted. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So the first question I want to ask is, from your office and your survey of the business environment, what do you think are the main challenges that are facing these businesses?
Okay, so the main challenges facing these businesses are putting in the needed structures to be able to have the necessary support from the financial institution and other private partners. So most often, let me begin by saying something about the Business Resource Center and the GEA, MBSSI, now known as the GEA.
Okay.
So we are a government agency mandated to provide institutional support to support the SMEs to become more competitive, especially in this time that we are in the after transition where we have an open market, which our Ghanaian environment is also exposed to a large market of products from other countries. And then what happens to our own SMEs if they are not competitive enough to stand for this open market? Most often the SMEs will come to our offices and all they request for is financing. Meanwhile, the available, the structures that must be put in place, an SME wouldn't be able to give the exact annual revenue as exact annual cost, but then we'll be requesting for finance. How then do you pay off this finance? So we provide a one-stop shop for the SME. When I talk of one-stop shop, we give you the necessary training and all other institutional support So, for instance, for an SME to be moving from the assembly for permits to Registrar General to FDA to Ghana's Standards Authority, when you visit any of the business resource center across the country or the business advisory center across the country, you'll be able to access all the available information to support the growth of your business.
So they just walk in to your office, that is, and then they can access information from anybody?
Yes. So first of all, you become a client of the BRC or the BAC.
Do they have to pay for this?
Yes, you just have to become a first-time client of paying 50 cedis.
Okay.
That is all.
50 cedis lifetime payment.
One-time payment, yes, as a registered client. And so we have ongoing trainings. We have ongoing training that we send to clients. So if you're on our database, you receive these trainings and then you participate.
Okay.
Then we help you put in place all the required documents. And the financial institutions are also available. Recently, there was an open application for agribusinesses, which qualified applicants have received support from the government. So as you prepare your business towards such open applications, as well as the private sector, talking of the private investors and then the financial institutions.
Right. Now, do you offer any trainings where the AfCFTA is concerned?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay. And this can also be assessed from that one-time payment of 50 cedis?
Yes, because sometimes most of these trainings are virtually free.
Okay.
They are free. But the problem of Ghanaian SMEs is that whenever you are looking for something, you need to search for the information. At the district level, you operate at a district level as a business, you pay your business, your business taxes. So at every point in time, you can go to the assembly. This is the support I need for my business. Where can I have the adequate information? You'll be linked up with the BRC or the BAC, whichever is close to you. You'll find out the necessary information. The search of information for Ghanaians particularly is low. We sometimes want to sit down for things to just be offered to us, but you really have to go search for what you want. The available informations and the channels are there, and the interventions are there.
Abigail, when you say trainings that are offered, I just want specifics on these trainings. For example, are you giving training on how to do bookkeeping, access credit, maintain? What exactly is the training about?
Yes, so trainings, we have trainings on bookkeeping, branding, innovation, digital marketing.
Okay.
Health and safety needs of organizations. So we have a whole pack of trainings.
Thank you, Abigail. Please stay on the line for me. I'm just going to go back to Reverend Constance. She wasn't able to finish over there, but the line messed up. Let me see if we are more stable now. Is the connection better, Reverend? Okay. Unfortunately, the line is still bad there. So let me go back to Letabo. Letabo, you have listened to the concerns. You've listened to the challenges. What does the AfCFTA offer in terms of solutions to any of these challenges? For example, Anthony mentioned very high duty costs. Does the AfCFTA offer any avenues through which these can be reduced?
Yes, so I noticed when I spoke about the AfCFTA or free trade agreements as a whole, I didn't mention that the overreaching purpose of any free trade agreements is to progressively eliminate or reduce, then eliminate tariff and non-tariff barriers to trade. And when Anthony spoke, he spoke about both barriers. You know, he spoke about the customs duties that they were struggling with and how high they were and how difficult they were making it for them to conduct a business. He also then spoke about bureaucracy and corruption and policy uncertainty and instability. Those are non-tariff barriers. So I think what I would argue, and I would submit that whether in our regional economic communities or, you know, on a continental scale as a whole, we're doing well. We haven't arrived at the place we would like to, but we're doing well with regards to reducing our tariff barriers to trade. It is the non-tariff barriers that are making it difficult for people to do business in Africa. And it is the role of governments, and it is the role of the national implementation of the AfCFTA frameworks that will assist with creating an enabling environment for business and investment and entrepreneurship at a national scale. So that's, I think, one of the biggest things. Non-tariff barriers really hinder African trade, inter-African trade, more than anything else. And it speaks to a host of things, you know. It speaks to, you know, what I've mentioned, but it also speaks to infrastructure. Do we have the correct infrastructure to facilitate trade? If it's free movement of goods, how is our transportation system? How are we moving the goods, you know, practically? Do we trade in terms of payment systems? Are we providing the correct infrastructure to allow someone in South Africa to purchase something in Ghana in rand without it taking a week or two for the payments to arrive at the merchant's bank account? It's a host of things, really, and I think those are challenges. You know, when it comes to infrastructure, some of them can be solved by the innovative solutions that young people have continued to bring forth. I think we can look at fintech and how it's growing on the continent, and I think it will be the solution to a lot of the payment systems question with regards to, you know, trade on a continental level. I also listened to Reverend Constance and Abigail and Anthony as well touched on this. The issue of building capacity and technical assistance, it cannot be understated. We are not a continent that has generations and generations of formal and well-functional business in the formal sector. And we don't have access to information. For a lot of people, even African families, you know, they're first entrepreneurs. So we can't learn from our grandparents as they do in other Western countries. So I think the need to build capacity and to give young people and young entrepreneurs technical assistance is as important as access to financing, because what do I do with money if I don't know how to run my business effectively? What happens to that money then when I've received all of this money and I've done all of this, but I haven't paid my taxes and I don't know how to bookkeep and I don't know how to market my business and I don't have any strategies on anything, really. So I think those are some of the things that the AfCFTA Secretariat is I think starting a conversation now around what problems practically are young people facing on the continent and how practically can we resolve those issues outside of treaty talk, because we can have this beautiful agreement that trade lawyers and trade negotiators can see as a novel or a great legal document. But if people don't know how to, if it's not fashionable to the people as an agreement for the people, then African people are going to reject it. Then it's just going to seem as an agreement that is beneficial to the elite and to big corporates. But we need to ensure that it's an agreement that is fashionable and is also inclusive and really covers people in all demographics.
Abigail, have you noticed any specific areas where we don't have enough entrepreneurs taking advantage of within the AfCFTA? Sorry, that goes to Letabo. Abigail, let's just let Letabo take that. I'll come back to you in a moment. That's for Letabo.
Sorry, do you know what? I don't think I think young Africans are driving innovation, you know, at a inspiring level, I'm in awe every single time I'm, anywhere on the continent that I am. When I speak to young people, they're really driving innovation, and there are so many innovative solutions that they're taking full advantage of. I really think that it is the matter now of the member states to sit down when we negotiate the protocol on women and youth to really, like I said, resolve and create an enabling environment for these ideas, because innovation that isn't supported and can't enter the markets can't really solve the solutions that it was created or invented to solve. And so making market entry easier, providing the assistance and the support that is required for all these great things that young Africans are doing to help resolve and build a sustainable and well-developed Africa, and also to meet and reach, our Agenda 2063 goals.
Have all the countries signed yet?
So all the countries except for one, so all, I think 55 of the 56, or I don't know if it's 54, 55.
Which one is
I stand to be corrected. Of the member states, there's only one country that hasn't signed. Not all of the countries that have signed have ratified the agreement. However, there's great support, and there are valid questions that are being raised. If you look at global trends, most regions, and we've seen it with Brexit, are moving away from free markets and opening up their markets and opening up their countries for trade, for people and regions to come in and trade. And it's because free trade and investment agreements have really benefited a small group of people, and that is the challenge that we have in Africa. That is what we want to do better. And that's why I led with saying that this agreement specifically is not just a trade agreement. It was designed to become an instrument for sustainable economic development on the African continent, which means by its nature, by its character, it needs to be an agreement for the people. An agreement that is inclusive, and all the trade policy that is adopted to support the agreement must ensure that it does facilitate the creation and the establishment of sustainable economies and societies on the continent.
So it has to become as practical as possible, so the people understand it and are able to take advantage of it.
Yes, and I think that there are a lot of digital solutions that are coming up. I know there are a lot of they're digitalizing the agreements as much as possible to also make it accessible to everyone, which is a great thing. So I think people should constantly research and look out for what new opportunities, what changes, what barriers have now been eliminated. It's big and it's broad, and we need to constantly ensure that as young people, as young entrepreneurs, we're constantly doing the research that we need to do. Yes, and that also that whoever the institutions responsible for providing the information is making the information as technical and understandable as possible, so the people are able to take it in, and it's not just like a small group of academics who understand how to implement or how to benefit from the agreement.
Let's take, for example, an entrepreneur who sells shoes or sells cosmetics in Ghana. If the person is looking to take advantage of the AfCFTA, what's the first step to be taken here?
You can register your goods. So you can look at, there are tools. So if you go on, you can register your goods as a AfCFTA good, and they will have like a made in AfCFTA stamp, which will then allow your products to benefit from trading under, the agreement. So you have to register your goods to the AfCFTA trading regime framework.
Come to the Secretariat?
Yes.
Okay, and is this going to cost them money? I mean, money is a critical question where entrepreneurs are concerned. They complain about having to pay for every single service. If they come to the AfCFTA and they want to register their goods, do they pay money?
I honestly do not have an answer on that.
Okay.
But I know it's something that you can do online.
Oh, you can do it online.
They don't have to go. I mean, the Secretariat is in Accra, so
okay.
It would be difficult for everyone across the continent to do so. But there are also a lot of partnerships. I think people really need to constantly do a lot of research. I think the Secretariat is new and young, and there are a lot of developments that are constantly happening. And as an implementation body, it is being supported by a lot of other development organizations that are also bringing in solutions that are going to make it easier for people to trade under the framework of the AfCFTA. So I really will encourage young people to constantly research what new developments are there at a continental, at a national level. Some governments are, providing systems to help people in their member states get or start trading on a continental level. So different countries are implementing it differently, but I would encourage young people to constantly do the research to find out what instruments are available to you for you in your industry in order for you to benefit from this agreement. But yes, I think there will be, so soon there will be a protocol on women and youth, which will also ensure that youth and women-led businesses are prioritized in a lot of the opportunities and the benefits of the agreement.
Okay, that's a lot of information. But let me go to Anthony. I just want to find out quickly from Anthony. You've heard Lethabo and everything that she has spoken about. Is there any part of what she said that you think provide any prospects for survival of youth-led businesses?
Very much once again. I have been studying a lot about the African Free Continental Free Trade Agreement. I have done some work, and I think that it offers a lot of solutions. Recently, I've been in a few African countries trying to sell my product to institutions and to individuals, and I realized that we will do very well if a few things are harmonized. For instance, some of our products are FDA approved in Ghana. Some of the regulatory agents in other parts of Africa are not as organized. So they expect that you should have a CE mark, which is a European mark, or you should have a US FDA mark. And so there's nothing in Africa. So if you do not have any business dealing with anybody in the US or anybody in Europe, and so you do not see the reason why you should apply for a CE mark or a US FDA, it means that there are certain countries in Africa you cannot sell to. There are others you have to go and then go through their regulatory approvals all over again, and all of that, send the same documents, pay extra, and all of that. I see the AfCFTA as one of the things that will solve this issue, because I've been in stakeholder meetings where, especially when it comes to regulation, there have been talks about harmonizing the regulatory body. So for me, as somebody whose product is heavily regulated, it is something that I look forward and I always think about when I think about it. I have, as I said at the beginning, I have a lot of demand from outside Ghana. We have a lot of demand from a lot of countries. Some of them are government, and it's easier when it's government because then you just apply to them. But some of them are also individuals, and always you have to navigate the regulatory pathway. You don't know what to do. Do I just send it to the person or all of that? The major issue I have with some of these very wonderful agreements is implementation. I would use Ghana as an example. There have been times when you've had tax reliefs for young entrepreneurs who should have certain qualifying criteria. You go to the tax office with all the qualifying criteria, and you're still told that, oh, it doesn't work. Okay, so we can have all this very beautiful policy, and as I said, I've been in stakeholder meetings and I always smile because there are lots of prospects. But then I always think about if I'm sending something and I go to the delivery guy or at the border or anything, will the person who is there have know all these things that I'm supposed to enjoy? Will I have to go through a lot of bureaucracies before I can get a piece of paper to send goods which is needed ASAP? So some of those things are the things we think about, but generally the AfCFTA is something that we all look forward to because it will solve a lot of the problems that I personally face as an entrepreneur.
Anthony, you mentioned trying to go into other markets. How easy has that been apart from these certification problems?
Oh, actually, I would admit that we enjoy a lot of goodwill. And that is basically because of the fact that we are one of
By we, you mean Ghana?
No, the company.
Okay.
Yes, and it's because we are one of the very, very few companies in the whole of Africa that does this. So you go for conferences or you go for meetings, and once you present and then you tell people you are doing this and this, everybody says, "Can you send me samples?" We send them samples, and then the next thing, people are making orders. And then you have a lot of orders on your hands. One, you are unable to fulfill these orders because of the challenges I've already enumerated. And then secondly, some of the orders, as I said, they are to government. So when you send them, they are not a problem. But when they are into institutions and individuals, then the question is, you have to go through a regulatory approval, and that can take some time. But generally, it's not been difficult moving into other markets. I can say that it's been difficult operating in Ghana than operating in other parts of Africa as a Ghanaian. So as a Ghanaian company, it's difficult to move my company in Ghana than when I'm moving it to Nigeria or to Liberia or Sierra Leone or Gambia or Nairobi, Kenya. As I recently we've been doing some work in Kenya. So it's easier that way than even in Ghana. So it's not been a problem.
Right. Thank you, Anthony. That's quite some insight. I guess you've been in business for quite some time, so you understand the terrain better. But let me come back to Abigail. Abigail, you've heard some of these issues. Initially, you mentioned that some small businesses show up and all they want is financing, without bothering to streamline their business. But after the business has been streamlined and they've learned all that they need to know, and then they want financing, because you always need financing to step to the next level. Are there any such opportunities with the GEA? You have to unmute, please. I think you're muted over there.
Hello.
Yes, okay, I hear you now.
Okay, so there are partner financial institutions that we work with.
Okay.
Aside our open grants call for applications when we have grants from other donor agencies and others. But as I said, we have the EXIM Bank, we have other financial institutions. For instance, Fidelity Bank has a package for young entrepreneurs for the age below 40. So we provide all these informations for businesses. Yeah.
How many of the businesses you deal with are youth-owned?
About, I can't have the figures right, but yeah, we have youth-owned businesses and they are doing very well.
And how many survive in the first 5 years? How many, let's say 100 businesses walk into your office. At the end of the 5 years, how many of them are still operational? Do you have a rough estimate of that?
Yes, so let's say.
Okay, I'm not hearing you, Abigail. I think you may have muted yourself again. Please unmute, Abigail. I can't hear you. Okay, let me just quickly move to Lethabo over there. So, Lethabo, I'm sure you can still hear me. Okay, I hear Abigail has unmuted. Hello, Abigail. If you can just proceed with answering that question, yes.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, so I'm saying that the survival of the youth businesses is high. So let's say 100 people walk into my office, 100 clients of mine, 40% represent youth businesses, and they are doing well. So with the needed capital at their stages of growth, they will do very well.
Okay, that's at least comforting to know. So there is some longevity there. But Lethabo should take this. Some of the issues that have been raised are not issues that the AfCFTA can deal with. Some of them seem to be a policy level issue, like domestic policies of the countries that are involved. Now, what is the role of leadership of these countries in making the environment easier for small businesses?
So I like that we highlight on these non-tariff barriers, and also that they seem like a national issue. But there is a mechanism that has been developed as part of the AfCFTA that people can use to report any government that implements any non-tariff barrier on traders. And it's an online reporting mechanism, and if you feel if I'm South African, I go to the Lubombo border, these are the requirements to trade under the AfCFTA, and my goods are being denied access to that market for a reason unknown to me, and that is upheld by that government. You can report these things online. And the body that is in charge of that should be able to address it with that member state. So there are mechanisms that have been put in place to try and help traders and try and assist them with experiencing those non-tariff barriers. I do know that they are the biggest hindrance for a lot of traders, cross-border traders. And indeed, a lot of them do sound like local and national issues, of which I will always encourage young people, I will always encourage women, I will always encourage all traders to put pressure on their governments and highlight. You need to highlight and you need to report corruption when you face it. I know that a lot of the times that we experience something, if there is a certain criteria that is required for X to happen, and I go to an institution, a government institution, and I am being denied help, and I meet the criteria, then I should report that to the necessary institutions, and they should be able to assist me if whether it is the institution itself that has some kind of rot, or is it the individual who is just trying to hinder, my ability to access these things or things that have been put in place to help young traders, to help women who are, trading, and to also inspire inclusive development and inclusive trade. I think report it, call it out, report it, write an email, address the individual, address the institution itself. I do not think that if enough people are complaining about X institution, that governments will continue to ignore it. But our problem as Africans is we have accepted this culture of just being denied things for no good reason, and we just keep it moving. And it will continue until we, revolt and we deny it, we fight it at every level, and we say, no, it's enough. And if I am supposed to benefit from a certain instrument, from a certain system, then I will benefit from it.
Thank you, Letabo. We don't have much time left, but I want to try Reverend Constance again, see if her line is more stable now. It was impossible to get her before. Reverend, can you hear me now? If you can unmute, I'm assuming you're muted.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. This is Clara. So you've listened to, I hope you've been able to hear some of Letabo's submissions. Do you think there's anything she says there that speaks to, as a solution to any issues you've encountered in business so far?
Speaking from an entrepreneur's viewpoint, with this AfCFTA thing, it's all about standardization, because there are a lot of enterprising women and youth in our nation. The finance minister talked about going out there to put their skill sets to use. But then, after I've seen young people and women, being a founder of a women's network, come up with brilliant ideas, develop it, and then, I've seen them further because of the standardization process. You go to all lab, standardize your product, you go to states like GSASA, and they feed that and so, the government is... Okay.
It's pretty unfortunate that, the line is not very reliable, but I'll just go to Letabo to round it up for us. I'll take your last words, and I'll take Anthony's and Abigail's, and then we can finish this off.
My last words really are, I actually, arrived in Durban, I think about just 15 minutes before we started this conversation for the Intra-African Trade Fair. And, as a country, we are inviting the whole of Africa to our beautiful South Africa. And as a continent, we are inviting the whole world to come and talk business with Africa. And it's really exciting for me because this year, for the first time, young people have been prioritized in a lot of the events that will be happening. If you can, please join online. A lot of the panel discussions that are set up for youth in trade are going to take a very consultational form. So please, if you can, engage. If there are people who are in policy, who are decision makers, who are implementers of this agreement, who are offering you a platform to communicate with them about their issues, I think that is very important. I think that young people should take that opportunity up. And I know it's too late now to ask young people to join us, because they really will be showcasing a lot of the great things that young Africans are doing and are innovating and are building and are manufacturing on the continent. I will share my email address. And I will ask people to reach out to me with any concerns, any recommendations, any challenges.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my email address is my first name, which is Letabo, F or Sierra, which is my surname, F at AfCFTAYouthForum.org. So please email me, and I will ensure that I submit your submissions to the relevant people, and that your concerns, your recommendations, your challenges are communicated, are being discussed at these platforms. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Abigail, your last words. Abigail, please unmute, and just in 1 minute, give us your last words.
Yeah, so my last words is that the SME should do more research and then know what the government have for them through the BAC and the BRC, so that we can also have the correct data to present it to government to solve their needs. Thank you.
Anthony, among your last words, if you could just tell us if you've identified any recommendations you want to make to the AfCFTA or the GEA.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll quickly say this. To the GEA, I think that information flow is a problem. I know Abigail keeps saying that entrepreneurs should share, but when opportunities arrive, or when there are opportunities, I think it's also important that that information is also shared in areas where young entrepreneurs can have access to. So I think that is one of the things I'll say. For AfCFTA, I've been impressed with Letabo and what she's talked about and what the Youth Forum is doing. Again, my major concern is with information flow. I hope that we'll be able to share more information so that we would have access to some of the resources that can take us forward. AfCFTA would help a lot of young entrepreneurs, especially to move across Africa. And I hope that whatever has been put in place would be beneficial to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Let me try Reverend Constance. I'm hoping we can get her last words if her line is clear. So, Reverend, if you can hear me, please. Reverend, your last words, please. Your last words. Okay, that line is not very good over there. So that's how we round it up. We've been speaking with Letabo Sitho. She's the chairperson for the AfCFTA Youth Advisory Board. She's giving out her email, very generous of her. If you have any questions, if you have any recommendations, if you're looking for solutions to anything that has been discussed or more, please get in touch with her. Anthony Bassing, he's a young entrepreneur and a CEO of Incas Diagnostics. If you have any questions for him too, it's easy to reach him. Just leave a message on any of our social media handles at MX24GH. You can also find him on Facebook with his name, Anthony Bassing. Thank you also to Abigail Fosu, who's the General Manager at the Business Resource Center under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. She also is with the GEA. You can reach out to her through us, of course, and she will be ready to answer all your questions. And thank you to Reverend Constance Bonsu, who's the CEO of Consta Naturals and the founder of Lady Entrepreneurs Network. My name is Nwang Falon. This is Spotlight on MX24 Television. Good evening.